Good afternoon. Welcome to Capita's third webinar series, focusing on the growing issue of single-person discount fraud. My name is Judith Keach. I'm an Account Director for Capita Local Government Services. With me today is Dave Richards, who's one of our project managers in our Revenues Division at Capita, who's been responsible for the successful delivery of a number of projects on behalf of local authorities. During this session, we'll be discussing the challenges around single-person discount fraud that you're all facing. And we'll be looking at how you can put more effective verification processes in place to significantly reduce the fraud and maximise revenue for your organisations. During this session, we'll be specifically discussing the merits of a fully managed payment by results detection solutions and how you can manage SPD fraud detection through more sophisticated customer data and better targeting techniques. We'll also be looking at how you can calculate the impact of fraud reduction rates and increased revenue on behalf of your local authority. We'll also be considering the wider impact of corporate fraud and the new schemes under the welfare reform. We'd really like this session to be as interactive as possible, and if you've got any questions during Dave and I's discussion, please post them through the Ask Question box, which you'll find at the bottom of the screen. So I think we'll carry on now, and Dave, thank you very much for your time and joining me today.
Pleasure.
Can you tell me about your experiences about working with local authorities, and what are the main challenges do you feel relating to SPD fraud that they're facing?
Okay. Well, the main challenge is one of finance, basically. The Audit Commission estimates that around 6% of households are fraudulently claiming the single person discount. The estimate on that is that £90 million of lost revenue is missing from councils. It's a strain on budgets when councils are facing austerity, cutting staff and being asked to deliver more for less. The welfare reform schemes now will impact on this, with councils having to possibly fund changes to council tax support and other benefits. The other challenge on council tax SPD fraud is it's costly, it's resource intensive. Councils need a lot of staff to do it. They may not have the up-to-date information to check the records. And they've previously relied on mass campaigns which in themselves cost money and take time.
So as councils are facing increasing pressures, more and more are looking at new ways to crack down on fraud. Yeah. And what options do councils have for implementing a more effective process, do you think?
They need to think about, are they using data accurately and sophisticated manner? They have their council tax records. What can they compare it against? Do they have the capability and the capacity to run these review services alongside everything else they're doing? Do they have the software they need to do it? And can they do it swiftly and accurately to make sure the records are updated and fraud is discovered as quickly as possible?
But as councils are facing increased pressure on budget and resources are very stretched at the moment with the implementation of CTRS. What are the benefits, and how can we go about implementing a fully managed service?
Well, Capita's fully managed service takes all the work away from the council, or a lot of it anyway, the majority of it. Therefore, it reduces the pressure they've got on their own resources, so they can look at things like the new CTS, the changes to business rates, whatever they're doing there. They don't have to invest up front in technology or data access, and it's a low financial risk to them. They only pay on results, so there's no huge impact at the beginning on such a service.
Okay, so we've invested already in the upfront investment in the data.
We've got software, we've got the links with the data management company Equifax. We take on the risk to do the review for the council.
Okay, so my understanding is by offering a fully managed service, this means that the whole SPD review is taken care of without any impact on the local authority resources at all. So from your experience of managing the projects, I mean, we've just completed a big one in London, which we can talk about later. How does this actually work?
It's a fully managed service. There is some help required from the council, obviously, in taking the data and dealing with their processes. But we operate it generally as a 5-step process. Preparation is obviously key. So we work with the council at that stage. We would appoint a client project manager. We would know what data transfer method to use so it's secure, and what processes we need to follow during the discount review. We work with the council to capture the data, and we work with Equifax to carry out the data matching.
Okay.
We analyse the data once it's been returned from Equifax to indicate where the properties are, where there seems to be more than one occupier. We target those properties, those households, with a letter or a number of letters to see if we can verify their entitlement to the discount. We don't write to the people where the discount appears to be correct, so we're automatically reducing customer contact. We provide a telephone helpline throughout the review, and at the end of it we will provide the results, and we will give the councils the discounts removed where the risk is too high, or the customer has confirmed they have someone else living with them, or it's no longer valid.
Okay, so if a local authority didn't want to use Equifax, we could use alternative agencies if that was the preference of the local authority?
Yep, we have arrangements with Experian and Call Credit as well,
Okay.
but we have a main arrangement with Equifax.
Okay, no, that's fine. So, and councils don't have to pay for any upfront investment at all?
No, it's all done usually on a risk and reward basis, so they only pay on results. There will be a fee for each successful discount that is removed because of fraud being discovered or an update from the customer, and that's the only charge.
So if I was a customer, I was a local authority and I wanted to buy a fully managed service, can you just take me through how a fully managed service would typically work?
As I said earlier, we would extract the data from the council systems once we've agreed all the processes and the connections and so forth. We pass that to Equifax or the other agency, and they match it against their records, which covers consumer credit, electoral roll, telephone records, that sort of thing. That indicates to us where the claim is valid or possibly not, where there's more than one occupier discovered at the property with a commercial credit link or an electoral roll link. We analyse those results into a risk level, and we would contact by letter the people in the high-risk groups.
Okay.
If they don't reply, we follow up with a reminder. If they do reply, we handle the replies as they come in.
And do I get a dedicated project manager? Have I got somebody that I can go to? I've
Yes.
got any problems or any queries?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And do councils only pay by results?
That's true. Yeah, that's correct.
So they only pay for each case that's uncovered?
Yep.
Okay, that's lovely. So Dave, in your experience of the projects that you've done, so we've got some recent examples, what level of fraud could you expect to uncover, a council could expect to uncover using this kind of service, and what does that equate to?
Well, we've recently completed reviews for just over 30 councils where we've got results. We've removed over 33,000 cases of discount that shouldn't have been claimed properly.
Okay.
It's averaging out around about 6.7% of the council tax discount review base, which is in line with the Audit Commission's predictions. Some councils are higher than that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And we estimate that's generated £12 million additional revenue for the councils. So it's a significant level of missing revenue and a significant level of fraud that we're discovering.
So in a climate where councils are under enormous budgetary pressures, many councils might think that they want to do it themselves, and there might be a reluctance to embark on a fully managed service. What do you think the main concerns are for a council considering a fully managed verification process?
The main thing they need to think about is, do they have to make an investment up front to do this, to make contact with the data matching services, to have software, to have staff in place if they don't have them already? What then would be the cost of using a service like this? What would be the experience of the people running the service if they weren't from within the council? Do they have the system knowledge to do it? Do they have the telephone expertise available to help customers? And of course, is data secure? We're transferring personal data that needs to be protected in line with government regulations.
So all the security is fully compliant with Government Connect requirements?
Yeah, we work with the councils to agree data transfer methods and data access so that there is no risk of data leakage or someone else discovering what we're doing.
Excellent. So the benefits of this approach. With all this in mind, what do you think the main benefits will be for local authorities considering this approach?
Well, we've demonstrated we've got a proven model. It's a fully managed service that has identified fairly significant amounts of fraud and given councils increased revenue. The way we work it, there's very little additional pressure on the council's existing resources, so we're not expecting them to do loads of the work. It's a low risk financially for them because they only pay on results. They don't have to make an upfront investment or anything like that. We target customers, so we're not writing out to everybody who lives in the area. We only look at the ones where there is a risk shown. So obviously customer contact is improved. It also means that councils can show they are tackling fraud, so it can look to improve their standing, show that they've met audit commission requirements for looking at this, and they're following the regulations for the council tax and check-in discounts. And also our service runs reasonably swiftly. We can hope to clear the main part of an operational part of a review within 12 to 14 weeks generally.
Well, just slightly contentious topic here, but I've got to ask it for you because I've noticed a lot of things in the media at the moment. We know that tackling fraud using software such as the voice recognition analysis software that we deploy has been featured in the media. What do you say to councils who are considering that, given the recent events?
Yeah, well, we've seen the press coverage about using the voice risk analysis technology. We do offer it as an option to councils. We only use it in the cases of high-risk claimants who maintain they still live alone. We ask them to undertake a telephone interview. Their behaviour is monitored and their responses are monitored to see if they are providing risk in their answers. And we would feed that back to the council as an additional tool in deciding whether a claim was valid or not. We'd never remove any discount based solely on the voice risk analysis software. It's an additional part of the review service, and we offer it as an option to the councils. There's no obligation to take it.
So do you think it actually enhances the results? Has that been the experience?
Yes, using it on the reviews that we've done recently, we estimate it increases the removal rate by between 0.5% and 1%. So it's a significant increase that helps the councils.
And it's not a lie detector then, David?
No, it's not a lie detector.
And it is purely optional, is it, for local authorities?
Yeah, it's an optional part of the service. Okay.
Well, thanks, Dave. That's been really interesting, and it's put some context in for me around how we actually deliver a SPD verification process. We can take some questions now because I think we've got time for that. Oh, right, okay, great. We've actually got a question, which is fantastic. So, the question, Dave, is, sorry, I've got an itchy nose. The question is that, is this a standalone service or can it be used to tackle other services where there is a potential of fraud within the local authority?
It can be a standalone service. We've done it as one-off projects. We've also done it as repeating ones, or we've done it where we've reviewed new cases on an ongoing basis, not the entire single person discount caseload. There is potential fraud in tenancy housing in other parts of council tax discount involving students and things like that, and we would be happy to look at developing a service with that as well.
Excellent. So what are the benefits of using a fully managed service versus a council purchasing better data themselves?
Well, the councils can of course make contact with the credit data agencies if they wish to access their data. We can do that for the council. We have an exclusive arrangement with Equifax, but what we do as well is provide the fully managed service. So if the council went directly to Equifax or Experian or whoever and got the data results, they would then have to go and do the work which we would do for them.
Right, okay then. So you mentioned earlier on that the cost is based on caseload and size and optional services, one of our people are asking. What are those other optional services that authorities could buy?
Okay, well, the standard discount review process, we would cost it a certain amount. We would offer the options of, as we mentioned earlier, the use of the voice risk analysis technology. That may be included or it may be an optional extra. We can carry out a risk-only analysis of people who have housing benefit or council tax benefit or council tax support claims to give the level of risk in those cases. We can offer a service on tenancy verification, as I mentioned earlier, so we can check to see if properties are being let to the correct tenants or whether it's been illegally sublet or passed on. And we can also go into discussions about an ongoing relationship with the single person discount. It's the biggest discount type available to council taxpayers. And you do a review in 1 year, there's new council taxpayers next year, there's people will have lost the discount and reclaimed it, other people have just gone on to the discount. So there's always going to be people to review.
So would you recommend a rolling review, do the initial kind of big bang approach and then an ongoing review? How would you go about doing the ongoing review?
Well, we're currently operating that for a couple of number of councils where we review the whole caseload in year 1, and in year 2 and 3 we review new cases only, so those that have now claimed the discount since the full review, and then in year 4 we would review the whole caseload again.
Right, okay then. And going back to the other services that could be provided, once the links are in place that we've got established with the local authority, we could undertake work around maximising the new homes bonus, empty properties, etc.
Yeah, we've done some work with property audits, so checking to see if the council's database of properties and businesses matches what the credit data agencies have, what the post office has, to make sure there's no missing bandings on council tax or business rates, and so forth, yeah.
So in terms of the projects, Dave, there's always got to be highs and there's always got to be lows. So lessons learnt. Can you just share some of the lessons that you've learnt in terms of best practice? You're smiling, so there must be some valuable lessons that we've learnt.
Best practice is to make sure that all stakeholders in a council know that the review's happening. We've had cases where we've sent out the review letters and they've been sent to staff and council members and they claim they didn't know about it. So pre-publicity is essential, definitely within the council organisation, but also locally in local press and on the website, so that people know that it's happening.
Isn't that a mandatory requirement, though, that you have to?
We would do that, and we would expect councils to publicise this in advance, but they need to make sure their staff and their members are behind it as well, so that when people get the letters, some of them will complain, just because people like to complain, and then we need to be able to work with the councils to overcome the complaints. Okay,
so what you're saying, at the very beginning of the process, there needs to be some very detailed stakeholder engagement, so everybody is fully behind what you're intending to do. Okay, that's excellent. Going back to your process and your project, how do you go about contacting the high-risk customers? How are they followed up?
The high-risk customers are identified from the credit matching data.
Right, okay.
Once we've worked out that they're in the high-risk groups, and this is generally shown by additional people linked to the property through credit or other information. So we write to them with a standard form. We agree the format of the form with the council so that it matches their requirements. It looks like a letter from them, but it doesn't hide the fact that it's being done by Capita. We contact the person, ask them to verify they're still living on their own. When they reply, if they have indicated they're still living on their own, we will then, if we have the option of doing the telephone interviews, we would then contact those people separately to undertake a telephone interview. Okay,
well, I haven't got any further questions, so is there anything else that you'd like to share with us, Dave, in terms of your experiences? Or do you think we've covered it all? It seems pretty comprehensive to me.
I think we've hopefully covered everything.
Okay, that's great. Well, thanks ever so much, Dave, for telling us about your experiences delivering these projects. I think the key thing for me is that it's payment by results,
fully managed service.
Fully managed, and the results have been pretty impressive in terms of maximising revenue for local authorities. So thanks, Dave. I'll
Thank
let
you.
you get back to your day job now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.